Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave.
And I'm Nerdarchy Ted. Tonight we're cracking open the Unearthed Arcana Apocalyptic Subclasses from D&D 2025.
Jumping into the subclass, Circle of Preservation, safeguard nature and heal the world. Druids of the Circle of Preservation work tirelessly to conserve natural resources and restore places once ruined by greed and exploitation. Through a combination of conservation and restorative magic, Druids of this order shield and spread life across the land. The most powerful members of this order can return vitality to the barren fields, transforming wastelands into thriving wilderness once more.
Level 3, we're going to get Circle of Preservation spells. As always, these things are just automatically considered prepared for this Druid, and you just cast them as your normal. So level 3, you get Bless, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Poison, Sanctuary. Level 5, Beacon of Hope, Plant Growth. Level 7, Aura of Life, Death Ward. Level 9, Greater Restoration, and Hollow.
So they're kind of what you expect for a Preserver Druid. Nothing earth-shattering there, but there's some decent finds in there. Death Ward is always nice, and I don't think that's on the Druid's list.
So you're also going to get Preserved Land. As a bonus action, you can expend a use of your Wild Shape to fill a 15-foot cube originating from a point on the ground you can see within 120 feet of yourself with revitalizing energy. The effect lasts for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition, are more than 120 feet from the cube, or die. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the cube, you can grant the creature one of the following benefits. Bolster, the creature gains temporary hit points equal to 1d4 plus your Druid level, or Purify, you end one effect on the creature, causing it to have the frightened or poisoned condition. In addition, non-magical vegetation native to the region sprouts on the ground within the cube. The vegetation disappears when the effect ends. As a bonus action on subsequent turns, you can move the cube up to 30 feet to another area on the ground within 120 feet of yourself.
So, this isn't a bad ability. Getting temporary hit points, the range is decent, you can move it around. So it does give you the ability to kind of assist on the battlefield without having to get in there and mix it up. Send those temporary hit points up to the frontline fighters, or if someone gets the frightened or poisoned condition, you can just move it over to them. And also, I believe, you have to pick or choose which benefit you get, but depending on the needs, you can just do it. And at the low cost,
you get to choose for each person each time. I think that in and of itself is great, but I have major problems. I am not thrilled with, I hate subclasses that are fueled by your primary class's abilities. Giving Druids an ability of, you got to use your Wild Shapes to make this thing work, which means, now you can't use your Wild Shape for other things. Because that's what this is all built around. Your 3rd level power, your 6th level power, and your 14th level power are all fueled by your Wild Shape. I'm thrilled.
That doesn't bother me with the Wild Shape as much, because your Wild Shape, unless you're a Circle of the Moon Druid, isn't really that effective at later levels. And quickly, you start outstripping what the effectiveness of it. So having other things that you can do with it, I think helps. And I think that's kind of the idea with the Druid subclasses when it comes to Wild Shape.
And I understand that point, but it's a tool in your basket that's like, well, I can't use it for other things. Sure, you might not be using it for combat, but you could be using it outside of combat that's useful. And in order to make your combat effective, you have to take away that resource. The other aspect is, it says here, you revitalize the land for a minute at a time.
Yes.
Because that's all this lasts for. So you're not curing the world. You make it look pretty, and then a minute later it goes away. I walked more than 120 feet away. Nope, it's no longer revitalized.
I will say you can Wild Shape and then use this ability.
Yes.
You will be out of Wild Shapes, but you can do it.
Yeah. So thematically, it's great. Mechanically, it offers some good things.
Yeah.
But I just feel the narrative concept of the class and the fact that it only lasts a minute, I'm sorry, it's falling short. And I understand it's supposed to be related to Dark Sun. I understand that you can't just be like, well, all we got to do is just raise more Druids and that'll fix the land and then whatever. I just feel like you can't say this in the narration and then immediately, nope, they don't actually do that. They just do it like a little bit.
Yeah, maybe some middle ground somewhere, but that's not all you get at 3rd level. Student of Preservation, your studies have improved your understanding of the order and resilience of nature, granting you the following benefits. Frugal casting. When you cast a Druid spell, you can cast it without material components except material components that are consumed by the spell or have a cost that is specified in the spell. Additionally, whenever you cast a Druid spell that requires material components, this is consumed by the spell. There is a 10% chance that the components isn't consumed as part of the casting. You also gain tool proficiency with one set of artisan tools of your choice. This ability kind of bothers me more than the use of the Wild Shape because it's a non-ability, right? The 10%, okay, there's a chance that's decent, right? That you get to preserve some of your components. You get a tool proficiency is cool, but the number of times that it comes up about the material components, that's not really a thing that happens in our games very often.
Druids are not often casting spells that require a permanent component, at least not in our games. Sure, if you are getting to the point where you're using Awaken a lot, all right, well, then that can be there. But it is literally 10% of the time. And I don't know of any other subclass throughout 5e that has a percent time. I would much rather be like, you can do this once, and once you've done so, you got to wait 7 days before you can do it again. that fits more in line with the concept of 5e across subclasses and magic items. For the life of me, I couldn't find something when I looked that says this only has a 10% chance to work.
Yeah. So
And to have it as a subclass ability seems kind of weird.
I'd have to go back and check, but unless they changed Divine Intervention, which is a percentage until you hit a certain level as a class feature, but that would be like the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
I like that you get a tool proficiency. I think that druids tend to be out in nature and have a lot of downtime when they're not protecting. So to like, oh, well, I'm going to carve stone or I'm going to whittle or I'm going to paint, that really feels like something that druids would do. I like that aspect. I know you say it's a ribbon ability, but I like it.
Well, not so much the tool proficiency. Proficiency is proficiency.
Level 6, we're going to get improvised preservation. Your preserved land becomes more powerful in the following ways. Fortified protectors. While inside a cube created by your preserved land, you and your allies gain a bonus to Constitution saving throws equal to your Wisdom modifier. And you also get rejected desecrators. Whenever the cube created by your preserved land enters an enemy space, and whenever an enemy enters the cube or ends its turn there, that enemy makes a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the enemy takes 2d10 radiant damage, and its speed is halved until the end of its next turn as a new growth rises to hinder it. On a successful save, the enemy takes half as much damage only. An enemy makes the save only once per turn. So again, it's doubling down on that third level ability to bolster it and make it up there. You really want to put your fighter and your paladin inside one of these things so that your fighter is going to get the charisma bonus and your wisdom bonus inside this thing, and your fighter is going to be a badass.
Or con saves. Actually, what I thought about for the Constitution savings right away was anyone that concentrates on spells. That's going to be super useful, especially if they already had things that make them good at concentrating on spells anyway. So it's going to even further that. And I know you're not happy that it's using Wild Shape, but at least this ability is getting a lot of utility out of it. You can control the battlefield. You can do damage. You have several different ways of buffing your allies. That kind of stuff I kind of like, and I think it's going to be useful for your Wild Shape. You're going to get more out of it. Level 10, Facilitated Restoration. You can cast lesser restoration or greater restoration without expending a spell slot or requiring spell components. You can use this feature to cast a spell in this way a number of times equal to the wisdom modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. My initial thought when I read this was this is a really powerful ability that's not going to get a lot of use.
I agree with that as well. I look at it, okay, you're 10th level. By the time you're 10th level, you've already had 2 bumps, so you've probably got a 20 wisdom. So therefore, you can use this ability 5 times a day. Are you getting 5 needs of lesser or greater restoration? I don't know. And then
unless they do some crazy Dark Sun rules where exhaustion is going to happen a lot, then I could see it. But yeah, for the most part,
so lesser restoration is on the added spell list, but greater. Oh, and greater is as well.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, you're eating up the spell slots of the free spells you get prepared, but now you can cast them free a number of times a day. So I was like, all right, well, I'm dipping into one and the other. It's an interesting ability. I don't see how exactly it's going to get its use, unless, as you said, Dark Sun is going to eat into those exhaustions.
You just need a DM that screws the party over a whole lot, and then it's a fantastic ability.
So finishing off with level 14, Sacrosanct Land. The size of the cube created by your preserved land increases to 30-foot cube. In addition, when a creature you can see in the area of your preserved land is hit by an attack roll, you can take a reaction to have the attack's damage against the creature. So again, super doubling down on you got to use this cube in order to gain your abilities. Having a use for a reaction, I don't think there's a whole lot of things that druids usually do with their reaction. So this is really powering up the subclass. I think this is a powerful subclass if you're not using your wild shape, if you're coming across things that are requiring restoration, removing conditions.
Here's my argument for kind of like counter argument to what you've said about the wild shape, right?
Sure.
Especially when you get to the higher levels, you're going to use wild shape most likely as a druid that isn't Circle of the Moon outside of combat. There's virtually no need to use this particular ability in combat. So I think it splits it up nicely for this particular druid subclass of here's in combat uses for your wild shape and here's out of combat uses for your wild shape. And I feel that by 14th level, you're high level, but you're not like super high level. Like that's an attainable level in the games that we play. So you're going to actually use these abilities, play with them. And this particular druid is going to be great at buffing allies and in a support role, even more so than other particular druids. And you're still a full spellcaster after you've activated this ability. I think this is going to be pretty potent.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a potent subclass, even in some ways like outstripping clerics. The ability to use greater or lesser restoration without dipping into your spell slots, with being able to create this effect that's going to cause damage and aid the party. It offers a lot of control and a lot of abilities. You got nothing if you're not putting out this cube of preserved land. But once you do, you are doing a lot to the battlefield. And like I said, it's potent and outstripping a lot of the other druid subclasses. I wonder if this is going to get toned down. And I'm still flummoxed by the, hey, we fixed the land, but not really.
What kind of character would you build for a dying world? Are they trying to save it or just survive it? Let us know in the comments. But until next time. Stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.